Is good.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Yeah, you're gonna die. It's a matter of time. Question is whether they're gonna have good stories to tell about you when you're gone.
As you're turning your bus, you rent a very fast car with no top. Acapulco shirts.
This week on Board of Directors, we have James Patrick. I'm going to say he's sort of a business guru. He's an artist. He's a photographer. He's a philosopher.
Author. He had a lot of cool shit to say. Actually, like I said, it was like enlightening for me based on like scheduling, being productive.
He really did. We talk about blocking your time, which is, I think, is a secret to a successful life. We talked about working out. We talked about therapy. We talked about, if you're an influencer, getting your brand into earned media on magazines. Lot of rich content in this podcast. If you're trying to grow a business, a brand, a lot of nuggets here. So this podcast, James Patrick, internet extraordinaire.
Yeah,
me, Chris, and Maddie.
A little
liked
fit
it.
soda never hurt nobody.
I liked it a lot. It, like I said, it was enlightening for me. And you know, the funny thing is, like, you have to preface, if we're saying, oh, we're talking about time blocking and stuff like that, could be, to some people, it sounds boring, but
touche, not boring. It was great.
No, I know. It like changed how I think about my schedule, my workouts, like getting everything in and making sure that I do it. I don't know. You have to watch it because.
So quick sliver of that. Chris is right. My fault. Can you structure your week where you're in your power zones at all times?
Yeah, that was crazy for me.
So that you're not wasting time, you're not giving too much of your time. It's not taking from your core of like your power, your strength. Like, so many of us schedule so many things, and then by Thursday we're wasted emotionally, not willing to admit it, and we schedule things in those times that we probably shouldn't. That conversation was about, how do you be the most productive, powerful human being? Love yourself.
Know yourself, like know your strengths and weaknesses, and communication.
Yeah, this was like, how does one of the top creators in his field manage to do so much and still maintain a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, it was really great. So,
I was going to say, if you haven't heard of James Patrick, he works with some of the biggest influencers, models, everything in the world. You know, he might not like blow his name up, but he's the guy behind the scenes, like helping a ton of them. So a lot of useful information. Make sure you check it out.
We went over his book too.
Yeah, his book, his planner is really great. Join the board, like and subscribe, send us comments.
Cherry vanilla fucking flavor.
My email is chris@fitsoda.com. Shoot me an email. Also, we're launching a Discord soon, so be on the lookout for that. But yeah, this podcast is great. Like and subscribe. Hope you love it. Send us some feedback.
Boom.
All right, real quick, I want to tell you about something that I absolutely love, and that is Fit Soda. Fit Soda gives you all the pleasure of that beautiful, sparkling, tasty drink, but without all the negative side effects. Fit Soda has 0 calories. It's also a hydration drink. It is loaded with branch chain amino acids for recovery and electrolytes for hydration. Comes in 4 amazing flavors. You got the orange cream, you got the root beer float, you got the cherry cola, and the sparkling citrus. By the way, guilt-free soda, 0 calories. Stick a little vodka in there. You got a delicious cocktail. It's a great mixer. I'm telling you, this stuff is fantastic. Stop drinking soda right now. Stop adding to that waistline. Stop rotting your teeth and causing all the internal problems that soda does cause. Fit Soda #1 is absolutely delicious, and it's good for you.
James, I will give you $100 for each one of these quotes you get correct in the intro music.
Like what movie they're from.
Oh, they're movie quotes. Okay.
Greed is good.
Stop it.
I can't just stop.
Greed is good.
I mean, that's Michael, what's his name? Wall Street.
Yeah.
There's $100.
I'm gonna PayPal you while we're on the show too. Okay.
This is great.
Yeah.
Can we just listen to it? Because I have to replay it all the time.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Yeah, you're gonna die. It's a matter of time. The question is whether they're gonna have good stories to tell about you when you're gone.
As your attorney advises, remains a very fast car with no top. No top. I can pull core shirts. Core shirts.
You need it played back one more time?
All right, I picked up 2 other movies in there. I picked up Glengarry Glen Ross.
Fuck yes, James.
And I picked up Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Had a baby?
Oh man.
Yeah, the last
Was
one.
there what did I miss?
The only other one is Peanut Butter Falcon with Shia LaBeouf.
Okay.
I haven't seen that one either.
Same.
We asked Allie Lee that. I don't know if you know Allie, but she was like, "Wait, these are movies?"
Yeah.
There was none.
It wasn't a good start. Love you, Allie, but not a good start. Okay,
we got 3.
What's your PayPal? I'm going to send you money right now.
We can bleep it out. No, welcome on the show, James. So,
thank
those of you listening that don't know James Patrick, he is a famous fitness photographer. Is that correct? I would say fitness photographer because that's what you seem to specialize in more. I'm sure you do other stuff too, but
More than anything else.
yeah.
Also, for you listeners and viewing on YouTube around the world, if you'd like to send James money because he's handsome and talented and wrote a book that we're going to talk about on how to keep your life from being less disorganized and on point, send him some cash.
Can I get that, dude?
No, you have to pay James, you dick.
I'll PayPal him.
That ADD
Yeah,
brain.
you need that planner, bro.
I need more than a fucking planner.
Yeah, James. So I actually, when I was looking into you, you've written a few books, huh? I was seeing what is it? Fit Business Guide, the workout plan for your brand. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, that was the first one I dropped back in 2018. And then last year I dropped Fit Business Online. Both of those were able to get to bestsellers. So super stoked about that.
That's awesome. What
on which lists?
Look at that. I got money.
You made money for being on the podcast.
Yeah. Let's make this a weekly thing.
How about an hourly thing?
Yeah.
Please.
So James Patrick, photographer extraordinaire. Your 2 books you just said were bestsellers.
Yep.
And which ones were those again?
Fit Business Guide and Fit Business Online.
And what is Fit Business Guide?
So the first book, Fit Business Guide, the idea was how do you build, market, and profit from your brand within the health and fitness space? So start to finish, how do you cultivate a brand worth noticing? How do you market that brand? And then how do you onboard clients into that brand? The second book, Fit Business Online, which I dropped last year, was more of a workbook of how to get something off the ground for the first time ever. Everything from ideation, brand formation, marketing and sales strategy to actually launching and scaling. So it is a guide that really takes you through step by step to create something from an idea and take it into the marketplace.
When you say brand, do you mean any kind of brand or fitness? Mostly fitness.
I mean, here's the thing about marketing, sales, and business development. It's a universal language. So regardless of what you're choosing to spend your time doing, these principles can apply. Most of the people who are reading it, though, they're going to be personal trainers, fitness influencers, nutritionists, anyone who is a solopreneur looking to get something up and running.
What would you say as you were writing this book and as you've created your own businesses in terms of ideation, where people fall short?
Leaving it in ideation.
Yeah.
Is the biggest problem. I was thinking about this earlier this week where we've never had more access and more resources to information, knowledge, and wisdom. Literally, you can find out anything on how to do anything. It is so crazy to me how anyone can now still hold on to this excuse that I'm not going to do whatever this thing is because I don't know how to do it. That doesn't really fly anymore. And that's not a kind of a blunt statement of, I don't believe in excuses or anything like that. I'm not really into platitudes, but truly, you have never had more access to information to take an idea and move it forward. So the only choice you have is whether or not to take action on this idea. And a lot of people are choosing not to, or coming up with reasons not to take action or to hold back on that idea or to wait till the idea is quote unquote perfect until they're willing to move forward with it.
Yeah. There was someone did a study. There's more knowledge in a Sunday New York Times than a nobleman would have known his entire life in the 16th century. That's just one
Not
New York
surprising.
Times. I agree with you. I've said that on this podcast. More animated than you just did because I yell a lot. It's just how I am. I'm animated, and I've said that a million times. That your reason for not moving forward on something has basically been taken away by the internet. Being rich, picking up women, building a business. I mean, it's all there for you to access. I would say one of the problems is we almost have too many. There's too many options now.
Like too much stimulation. James, one thing, he was being a little shy on it. One thing he yells at the office almost every day is ideas are shit without execution, right?
Yeah.
He's big on that, which is what you just said. Leaving
James, if I could, I would make everyone in this office get a brand that says "Take it over the fucking finish line." Don't argue with me because I'll fight you. Is to execute. Yeah, I'm big on execution. I think people, it's such a skill. You have to practice it. You can't necessarily read about it or watch it, but yeah, I'm huge on that, and a lot of people are just really terrible at it.
I'm glad you said that. Actually, I want to say it was part of the marketing kit. It might be on the back of that first book, Fit Business Guide. It says your ideas are not worth anything.
Yeah, they're not.
Because truly, they're not. Unless you couple that idea with action, it's just going to remain an idea forever.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people hold back, like you were saying, they're waiting for the perfect time to do everything instead of just like starting those building blocks and, start with step one. Don't just think about it in the big picture. Like, I want this, so I'm just thinking about it as a whole. You have to think about, if I want this, here's where I start, here's the next step, and then just build up from there, right?
I mean, really, it's a willingness to be imperfect with it. Like, you guys are podcasting. You launched a podcast. Did you know everything about podcasting A to Z before you had published? It's pretty doubtful. I've been podcasting for 10 years. I still do not claim to know everything there is about podcasting. I'm still figuring out in real time. Like we were just talking right before we hit record that I'm testing new platforms to stream my show live on YouTube. I have no idea what I'm going to end up with or what I like over anything else. The difference is a willingness to put something out into the marketplace that is imperfect, and an imperfect launch will be infinitely more successful than a perfect idea that's never put in front of anyone.
Yeah, you just have to get out there and get messy. I mean,
yeah, the first thing to do in it is just starting, and then we adjust all the time. We change things
constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the ideation thing is interesting, James, because obviously you're in the top 1% of people who think of things and then act on them. I think about this a lot, being a CEO and a person who manages people. I think I do it to a fault almost. I have such a high standard that I sometimes just break people on the rock of expectation.
Nice way of putting it.
I truly want the best for people, though. I'm truly trying to pull the best out of people. And I've thought about this.
Hard.
It's really tough. It's an art form. Some guys are good at it. Some people aren't. I don't think I'm the best at it. I'm too tough on people. But I think about this idea a lot, like why more people don't take action. I always tell this story about the dog on the nail. You guys know it well because I've said it in the office 100 times. Why do you think that is? Working with people, being your own solopreneur, why do you think more people just don't take action?
Maybe they don't want it. And there's no shame in that.
Yeah.
That's okay. You don't I look at entrepreneurship. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is not any better than not being an entrepreneur. There are people who live very happy, fulfilled lives working for someone else.
Do you agree? Do you agree, James, that you can be here's an interesting question in line with this topic. What do you think an entrepreneur is?
Two things. One, you're responsible for your own income.
Love
but
that.
Two, I do separate entrepreneurs from solopreneurs. Entrepreneurs, I don't believe, have their income directly related to the time they're investing in their business. Whereas like a solopreneur or like a freelancer, like when I'm a photographer, I'm not an entrepreneur. Because my time is directly tied to the work I do as a photographer. If I'm not on set shooting, being paid, I'm not getting paid. So it was about building different revenue streams that did not have a direct correlation to my time.
Yeah. Because then you're just a contractor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also think I love that answer. I also think entrepreneurs are problem solvers. You solve problems for the world, for your clients, for yourself, for the people around you, and the more problems you solve, and the more value you create, generally the more money you can make. I would say too, though, that there's this misconception in the world: to be an entrepreneur, you have to start some big brand, et cetera. I definitely think there's value in entrepreneurs within organizations, that you can be an entrepreneur. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, buddy?
I forgot. I was just thinking about something. Oh, I wanted to ask James, actually, because you do help coach these entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, however you want to put it. Do you find that there's a lot of people, maybe not a lot, but people that come to you, like you said, you were talking about people not wanting it enough. So I could see you as being a coach, because I've met people before that wanted to start a business or whatever, but then they had every question of every single thing they should do. Do you have people that do that to you, and you're like, hey, at this point, like if you haven't done your research and stuff, you don't want it bad enough, you're just asking me to do it for you?
Feels like The Office.
So I have to kind of wear two hats when I'm working with clients. There's the hat of the coach and the hat of the strategist. When someone comes to me, more often than not, it's the hat of the coach, where they say, I'm trying to figure out whatever this is. And the coach is going to implore them to answer it themselves. That's a really good question. How would you find that answer? Okay. Teaching my clients to be resourceful enough to find answers. So I do have to do that a lot. And then there are times where it's just easier or faster, or it is not to their detriment for me to be the strategist, where if they ask a question, maybe it's a more specific tactile question, where I just give them the answer. This is what you do in this case. But if all I am doing is the latter, then I'm never actually setting them up to succeed beyond the time that I'm in their retainer. Okay. And my responsibility is to make sure that they're succeeding beyond when they're working with me.
I agree. Yeah. That's what I think makes a great coach. I teach kickboxing and jiu-jitsu and stuff, and that's part of it, is like, if I have to tell you how to do all of it, then you're just following what I do. So you got to teach people how to think for themselves, be creative, move forward. And, maybe you get the wrong answer, but then you learn by being wrong, rather than just somebody telling you do this. That's what you need to do. And I think that's what makes a great coach, is somebody that kind of guides you to figure it out.
I think that's a surprise for a lot of people who engage with a coach for the first time, is a coach is going to push you into failing. And that's a requirement, a part of the process. If you're working with a coach and all you're doing is succeeding, they're simply not pushing you hard enough, because you're not taking any risks. You're not trying anything that could potentially fail. A really good coach is going to push you into failure to be able to test and then refine your approach based off what we learned from whatever that failure was.
Absolutely.
So James, looking back on your career, did you obviously photographer now, coach, did you start when you came out of college or wherever it started, did you start wanting to be a photographer, and some of the other iterations of your life and your income streams came as a result of you trying to support that, what I would call an artistic way to make money?
I came into everything kind of backwards, because I didn't know, when I graduated college, I didn't know other professional photographers. So it's not like I really saw photography as a viable career choice for me. So when I graduated college, I took what I thought was a safe job, which was working in marketing and sales. And I did that for about 7 years. And while I was working in this corporation, running their marketing department, obviously learning lots about marketing, lots about business development, lots about client relationships, lead tracking, client retention, I'm building my photo business on the side. And at some point, I'm just working 2 full-time jobs. I have my, we'll call it 9 to 5, but really is about 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then every evening, every weekend, every holiday, every sick day, every vacation day, I'm burning on this side hustle. At some point, I just jumped full ship into just doing photography. But as I'm doing photography, I'm noticing most of my clientele, which are in the health and wellness space, they're not understanding what to do with all these assets that I'm creating for them. I'm making these images for them to help them brand themselves, help them market themselves, help them attain media features, help them build their awareness, help them generate leads for their business. But a lot of them didn't know what to do with these assets. A lot of them didn't know what to do next. We get these great photos. Now what? And I was like, well, I know what to do next because I just spent the last 7 years doing just that, only for a corporation. So let's refine this into teaching my individual clients how to move forward with their own businesses or their own ideas. And
what is the next step for that fitness person, trainer, coach, even some other business like ours, where you've now created somewhat of a portfolio for them? They're at ground zero. What's sort of the next step to use those images to grow? Where do they go next?
Case specific based on their business, but I'll say like 3 main areas that I would want someone focusing on. First area is generating awareness. Can't build a business unless people know you exist. So where that awareness exists, that's going to depend on the person. It's going to depend on their business. But wherever your target clients are, whoever you're trying to serve, they already exist somewhere. We do not create traffic. We're tapping in to traffic. So what podcasts are they listening to? What magazines are they reading? What shows are they watching? What events are they attending? What communities are they a part of? And you need to be affiliated, involved, featured in, interviewed on, speaking at any of those facets. Okay. You need to be in front of your audience, giving value to them where they already are and giving them a reason to enter into your ecosystem. Because the days of like, I'll just build a website or just build a social media page and hopefully people find it because I used the right hashtag, that's not working.
So you're saying
we have to go to where they are.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would be a specific example? So I'm just your average influencer. I'm female. I go to the gym quite a bit. Would it be doing fitness related content that's actually giving them tools? Would it be, give us an example there.
So we'll say someone wants to sell some online fitness programs. Yeah, you can create a bunch of content and hope people find it. Great. Or you can put the content where the people already are. So for example, let me list off a couple media outlets that these audience members could already be consuming or subscribing to. Maybe they are a reader of Oxygen magazine. Well, then you need to be in Oxygen magazine. Maybe they always visit trainforher.com. Well, then you need to be featured on trainforher.com. Maybe they all attend the LA Fit Expo. Well, then you should be speaking at the LA Fit Expo. Or maybe they're all involved in this this annual conference. Well, how can we get you on stage at this annual conference? Or maybe they're all part of this private Facebook group. I mean, this doesn't need to be a glamorous thing. It could be just this private group. Well, then get into this group and start showing up in this group and delivering your content in the group.
Yeah.
Versus just having it all on your own platform, because we can't just keep waiting for people to find us. That's so reactive. We need to be proactive.
It's also
to going where they are.
James, don't you think it's also the disease of social media? I see it all the time.
Yeah.
You're right. Like people take a photo, they post it, they hashtag it. I come from, I started in finance. I used to go door to door. I sold insurance, was one of the best in the world at it. But you learn in that world that you have to go get it. You have to ask. You have to, all the things you're saying. I see kids nowadays and even influencers using social media in a way where they just post something, expect it to work, expect deals to come in, and they're not doing what you're talking about, which you're right, it's not glamorous. It's basically door to door, hustling, learning to be a salesman, putting yourself out there. I think the internet's created laziness in a lot of people.
Yeah, it's definitely, they'll see some get like a shortcut and they'll think that shortcut can be replicated. Or some had lightning in a bottle and they'll think, well, I can systemize that, and it doesn't work that way. But then I'll hear the other side. It's like, well, people say, well, I'm not good at sales. I'm bad at sales. And like, well, then you can't have a business.
Right.
The two are hand in hand. And if you say you're bad at sales, then perhaps you do not know what sales is, because sales is actually believing in what you're selling and giving it to people who need it. That's sales.
Yeah. I used to tell my guys that sales is not, we're not selling vacuums door to door. Reframe what you're saying. It's communicating at a high level about something you believe in. And if you really believe it, then the person you're speaking to has to have it.
Yeah.
It's love. I used to teach my guys, if you come from love, you're going to do well.
We sell ourselves all day long. We sell ourselves in how we present ourselves and how we speak and how we dress. These are all how we are selling ourselves to the world around us. We just all of a sudden get gun shy when it comes to, well, I need to ask for money now. Well, yeah, if you're providing something amazing that is giving someone an outcome that they could not have had otherwise, you deserve to be compensated for that.
Yeah, and where this goes even a step further, I remember in my career when I started drawing boundaries around that even more, when I basically said I'm only going to work with clients with $1 million or above who are really willing to pay my fee. When I made that declaration and created that boundary, I got even more of that because I wasn't afraid to ask for it.
You made yourself like a commodity. Instead of begging, you're like...
No, I made myself like a Mercedes, not the Kia.
No, I know that. Yeah, maybe commodity wasn't the right word, but by raising your value and knowing your value, you create what people want even more.
Right.
I've noticed that, like when I used to do private lessons and everything, as soon as I raised the prices, because I was like, I don't really want to do these all day long. I raised the prices and more people wanted to do it. And then I'm like, shit, I got to raise them again because I want to do less.
Bro, it's crazy in life how unwilling people are to ask for what they want. Mm-hmm. I used to teach my guys, go to Starbucks and get free coffee every day.
Just practice it. Just practice asking for things that you want. You'll get rejected. And the more you get rejected, just like training in a fight, the more you told me yesterday at JITS practice that the more times you put yourself in these vulnerable positions, the more comfortable you get with it. Yeah.
And the less reactionary you get. I think communicating, let's frame it that way for the rest of the podcast, is just learning how to be an effective communicator and being willing to ask 100%. For what you want.
Yeah. And James, this was kind of leading into a question that I really had for you, because I know you specialize in helping models get published, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
So is there like 3 tips you could give models out there? Because how do you start? You said like maybe your crowd is a fan of Oxygen magazine. You should be in Oxygen magazine. Is that just starting, like, say you're fairly unknown, but trying to like work your way up? Is that just like emailing, communicating, calling them, asking like, how do you get featured? Or is that seeking out somebody like you who's a photographer connected with them? What are some tips?
I think it's all the above.
Yeah. I was just wondering.
It's yes and yes.
Okay.
So the biggest mistakes people make is, one, they assume they can't do it because getting published is for celebrities only, and it's not. I've shot over 600 magazine covers in my career. Maybe less than 50 were celebrities. And that's being generous, which means over 90% of the features I've shot are individuals who just were the ones who asked for it or gave something of value. It's not just, hey, can you put me on a cover? So that's the first mistake. The second mistake is they think I got to do something really big. I got to win some award. I have to, place at this competition. I have to fill in the blank of whatever the status is. And then the media will notice and they'll come to me. They're not looking. They're too busy. They're getting too many pitches. You got to go to them. Okay. So finding the right media outlets, you could find 2 types of media outlets. Well, I guess 3. There are media outlets that you just do just because they're cool and it's vanity. And it's like, yeah, I'd love to be in Entrepreneur Magazine. That'd be awesome. There are media outlets that you do for authority. Authority would be like, I land a feature in, let's say I'm a fitness model. I land a feature in Train Magazine and I could show that logo, or I land a feature in Men's Journal or Men's Health. Like that's pretty iconic to be able to say like as featured in, and you list off that media outlet. The third is lead generation, meaning you land a feature, people see the feature, they immediately enter into your funnel and they become a prospect or they become a lead in your business. So that's lead generation. Now, the second 2 can be similar. You can have publications or TV shows or podcasts that do both of those. They amplify your authority and they generate leads. But then there are some that only do one or the other. Well, let's take Strong Fitness Magazine. You land a feature in Strong Fitness Magazine. Great. Good authority amplifier. No one who picks up that magazine is not in incredibly great shape already. You're not going to generate leads from that magazine. So we target publications based off what our goals are. And then from there, it's literally just positioning yourself to that editor or that podcast host or that publisher. Now, an effective position is not, hey, I would love to be featured. Great. A lot do. We get that pitch all the time. What are you doing for us?
Yeah.
So an effective pitch is the following, and it's incredibly simple and incredibly short. The shorter, the better. This is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I want to do for you. That is it. That is a pitch.
I love that.
I'm a fitness model and personal trainer with 23 years experience. I would like to write for your publication on my top 5 tips to get the best glutes for the summer. It doesn't matter. Like something that you're offering value.
It's a trade,
content. Yes. And now if I'm a publisher or if I'm an editor, or if I'm a host, I'm looking at, okay, that's my audience could use that. That's good. You know, I run a podcast. I get about a pitch or 2 a day to be on my show. I almost never look to see who is pitching. It's almost irrelevant because chances are I've never heard of them. What I'm looking at is what is the topic that they're saying they can speak on. That's it. And if it's hard to find that topic, or if it's buried in this massive bio, or if they're just bragging about themselves and their accolades, and I'm not seeing what they can talk about, it just gets deleted. But if I can see in a split second, here's what I want to talk about on your show, that's the yes or no answer. Would this benefit my audience? Yeah. All right, well, let's have this person on the show. I assume they could talk about it because they said they could.
Yeah.
So let's book this interview. And that is what it is right there. So the next mistake that people might make when it comes to pitching is they'll send one pitch and they're not going to hear back. Chances are you're not going to hear back from, like, let's say 80% of your pitches. And then they stop.
They just take the no.
They assume it's a no. But here's the thing. I got it and I put it in a folder, or I didn't get it, or I didn't see it, or I accidentally deleted it, or I was too busy and I thought about it, or I said, oh, maybe consider this later. It's following up. It's consistently following up every 2, 3, 4 weeks, following up with that lead. I mean, if this is something you want, you are going to follow up. You're not asking once, you're going to ask numerous times and continue to position new ideas in front of these media outlets. This is how you earn their attention. Once you have their attention, that's when you can start to cultivate that relationship with that podcast host, or with that magazine editor, with that event host, whatever. Fill it in the blank for whatever it is you're trying to pursue.
Yeah, I think a lot of people miss that. So I handle the sponsorships and stuff for us, and I can't tell you how many emails I get every day, and it will just say, you should sponsor me. There's no other thing, not like, what do you do for our company? What do you do for us? Why should we sponsor you? Nothing. It's just, hey, I need money. You should do this. And that drives me insane. I sometimes want to write them back.
It makes you feel used.
I mean, I just ignore it, but I just can't. I don't understand how so many people think that works, or that it should work. There's no follow-up. Like, what you should sell me. If you want money from us, you should sell me. Like, why?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you bringing to the table?
Very entitled age.
Yeah.
And again, this is why people should learn to communicate. I mean, it's everything in life. I used to tell a story when I trained insurance guys that if I could have any superpower in life, persuasion would be my superpower. Being the communicator, because if you're really good at communicating, I'll convince Superman and Batman to go do my dirty work while I'm at the gym. And I really, really believe that. I think effective communication is a superpower. It can get you anything you want in life. Anything you want in life is available if you just learn to ask and create value. And I think backing up to what you said, man, I love is like, keep following up. There's a guy who works at Koios now who did this effectively, and what he would do every time he'd email as well is not only would he keep asking, but he would provide value in every email. So every time I got something from him, there was another bit of value that I didn't have the last time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that shows investment.
Yep. That
he's willing to put forth time and energy into you before you've ever done it for him. But what's so great about your superpower, that is not an innate superpower. That is trainable. That's learnable, meaning anyone can foster and cultivate that for themselves.
Yep, I agree. I've been passionate about sales for a long time because it took, we had a joke in here the other day. We're talking about a video series of me living on the street for a weekend. And, I got so good at selling and communicating, and the bet within the office became, if you put me on the street, I have full makeup on, I look homeless. that by 2:00 in the afternoon, I'd have my own hotel room, a steak dinner at Capitol Grill, and a fresh shower. Chris didn't believe it. And I was like,
I said, no chance.
I crushed that. I smashed that.
Wait, you did it?
No, I'm going to do it to prove the point.
Oh, you're going to do it. Okay.
That from nothing, if you can learn to communicate, and I would tell this to any listener too, if you take, you pick up some of James's books, you hire him as a coach if he'll have you. If you cultivate communication, I think it takes away stress too, because you could move to any organization, you could start almost any business, you could be left in the woods by yourself, get your way out of it. Literally the world is your oyster once you learn how to effectively communicate. And I think everyone should be talking about it, thinking about it for their own lives, especially as we head into an economy that is going to be rough.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. And I think for hardworking, high-level communicators, there's nothing you can't accomplish.
And I think a lot of it has been lost. We talk about it a lot with social media and everything and video games, and the world is different now. So people aren't face to face as much. So a lot of people, they shut down face to face. It's easy to write an email and ask for something. It's hard to look at a person and say, hey, this is what I need from you, or this is what I want, because communication is getting less and less these days, and it's all virtual.
Yeah, it's all shorthand too.
I look at it. If everyone is DMing and you're the person that emails, you stand out. If everyone's emailing and you're the person that calls, you stand out. If everyone's calling, but you're the person that flies to Manhattan and knocks on their door, you stand out. So every few years, I would go out to Manhattan and just shop my portfolio around to all the different magazine editors. And one by one, I would have, I'd go out for a week and I'd do 20, 24 meetings. And that's how I ended up procuring a large number of the 600 plus magazine covers that I've ended up shooting, is because I was the one who just went out to New York and shot my book around. And the reason I figured out how to do that was because I had this old school photography mentor, and that's what he did. So while everyone else in my kind of level was emailing or trying to do social media, I was a guy who was sitting across the table from that photo editor or from that creative director. So of course I'm going to stand out a little bit more.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, Miller is really big on that. So since I've been working here, I've learned a ton. He always says, fuck sending an email, call them.
Yeah.
Make them stay on the phone with you.
I'll show up at someone's office and just sit there until they come out.
And it works. It's been
one
working
time,
for
James,
us.
funny story. We had an audit happening. Since we're publicly traded, our financials get publicly scrutinized, and it's a nightmare. If you're wondering, James, if you should ever go public, don't.
Just don't.
Yeah, just don't. Just pass. We had trouble getting an audit done, and we couldn't get this guy on the phone, and I showed up to his office and just sat in his lobby. Now, I'm 6'3", 285 pounds and covered in tattoos, so I don't look like the nicest guy. I walk in, and I'm standing there, and he walks out because I wouldn't leave until he came out. And I saw the look on his face, and I realized what was happening. I was like, oh, dude, I'm not here to beat you up. I'm not the muscle. I'm not in the mafia, bro. I just need you to get this done for me. Yeah, I think what you're saying, James, is a lesson, again, especially as the younger generation comes up. You have to put in effort. You have to go the extra mile.
Stand out.
Be there, show up. Yeah, go a different direction. I love what you said. Pick up the phone when everyone else is emailing. Back when I was coming up, it used to be make calls from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. because there's a lot of people in offices then, especially the high achievers. You'll probably get them on the phone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to just put in the extra mile. And I feel like with what's happening in the world right now too, from the pandemic showing people I don't think it showed people. I think it gave people the idea that you can work from home and do less, but still get paid.
Everything.
Yeah, the economy was doing well, so it sort of created this bubble of people thinking, hey, I can spend more time being leisurely and make more money. So I think it created an aptitude for laziness, I guess. And I feel like it's getting worse. People are putting in less and less effort to their brands, less and less effort into the actual process. And I think it's going to be a problem. So I love this conversation, especially for younger folks because I don't think there's ever been a better time either to be a go-getter than right now.
I think it stands out more because I think what we're seeing is there are still individuals who put forth tremendous emotion and energy into what they're doing, but there's just so many others now. We've just kind of become overrun with competition and not great competition. Yeah, it's become this oversaturated marketplace. But, looking at, kind of taking that back to sales, which is there are a lot of ways that you can generate leads or sales for a business, earned media being one of them. I talk about getting published, advertising being another one. But the thing that we come back to that sold more than anything else, maybe accounts for 80% of our sales has been manual outbound, just calling clients, emailing clients, directly reaching out to clients. It accounts for 80% of our revenue. When we were hosting our big conference, we'd have 500 people there, and 400 of them were because we had salespeople that were DMing them, starting conversations with them, picking up the phone, texting them, calling them, basically communicating, we want you at this conference. This is what you're going to get from this conference. The other 100 were from advertising, right? But 80% from direct contact. We want you there. This is what you're going to get from what we're offering.
Yeah, I love that. I used to follow this guy named Brian Buffini in real estate because when I got out of college, James, you seem like a truth seeker. Like you're always developing yourself. Mm-hmm. I learned that luckily early through Amway of all places. So I'm grateful for that organization for teaching me to develop a reading habit outside of like Playboy and Maxim magazine.
Hop on pop.
So I started going to conferences all the time, and I would even go to like marriage conferences to learn how to be in better relationships. I was a mortgage guy at the time or in finance, but I would go to real estate seminars. If this guy was really crushing it, I'd go listen to him speak. And I remember being at this Brian Buffini event one time, and he used to develop this referral system where he would literally show up to people's homes to give them a referral basket. But while he was there, he would ask for 4 referrals. So he's playing with a lot of sales strategies here. One is like, I'm giving you something. There's reciprocity here. I've added value. I'm asking for value back.
Trickles down.
Yeah, but he didn't just send it. You know what I mean? I think part of what we're getting at here is a lot of people just send it in all the time now.
Yeah. Standing out, like James said.
Yeah, and he said one of the most alarming things to me, because again, I've always been a guy, I feel like even at a young age, always asked for what I wanted. I've always been pretty tenacious, but he said as they were building this sort of referral system, to James's point of like, you actually have to call people and engage with them. He goes, man, when we first started the practice, we realized most people never knew we wanted referrals. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until we really started asking for them that we got them. To James's point, yeah, I think if you're any brand or just a brand ambassador or you're just selling fitness information, be more active, ask people to engage. I think a lot of people think people are just going to engage or buy just because you posted or ran an ad or.
Yeah. So
there's not enough trust that's been established for that to happen. And maybe at once there was, but not anymore. Especially, if people have been burned too many times, consumers are far more discernible. And we as sellers need to start honoring how we as consumers want to be treated. We as consumers don't just see something on Instagram and immediately go and buy it. That's not how we act. So why do we expect our audience to act that way? We need to treat our audience with the same level of respect and attention that we ourselves are demanding as purchasers.
That's a great take. I didn't really think about it like that, but I like that.
It's true though. Again, I love this conversation so much. I used to teach guys back in the day because James, we used to do this thing where they'd have to call me and tell me their numbers. I went 2 for 3. And then I'd be like, well, tell me about the one that didn't happen. And they'd start telling me, and I'd be like, they didn't trust you. You didn't get them to like you. They didn't trust you. You didn't do enough to get them to move forward. So I love that. It is about trust.
Yeah, and that can be every part of life, like we've been talking about. All of this kind of leads into the same. Sales, communication, building that trust can work in every part of your life. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how you make your friends, really. You don't become friends until you start to trust each other, and then you start calling each other friends. Mm-hmm. You don't just see each other and be like, we're friends.
Mm-hmm. Some people do.
Yeah. So, James, let's use you. So if somebody out there wants to have a career in this and they want you as a coach or they want to work with you, be shot by you, what are the steps they can take to reach out to you? Or what is it that you're looking for? So maybe any of our listeners that are like, this is resonating with them and maybe they want to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
Where do they go?
The easiest way to reach out to me is text me, 480-605-3254. That's the fastest way to get a hold of me.
Is that the bat phone or your personal phone?
It's my phone. It's not my personal number,
Okay.
but it is my phone.
I was just checking. I was like, you want us to put that on the internet?
Yeah, absolutely.
So are you taking on new clients and stuff?
Yeah, I'm always taking on new clients because I can serve clients based off where they're at within their business. So if they're not at a place where they can work one-on-one with me, that's okay. I can put them in one of our group programs or one of our module programs. So they're still getting the support and the information and the plan to move forward with confidence.
Love it. We heard it.
James, switching gears a bit, the life you've had in media, and because I'd love to circle back to earned media, but to break this up a bit, you get to work with and photograph some of the most beautiful people in the world. I bet some people look at your Instagram and think, "Man, what a life!" I want to know one of your so. Inevitably, when you get a bunch of people together and there's cameras out and there's people are nervous about it, things happen.
The bloopers,
the blooper reel. What's your best influencer blooper day on set? What happened?
And you don't have to name them. You can.
Yeah.
So if it's a story like this, it's not going to be best. It's going to be worst. And that's just
best for us.
Like a good day is when nothing of note really happens. We went in, we got our shots, the client was delightful, and we go home. Yesterday, I was shooting an NHL player. Delightful. Went to his house, got the shots. We were out of there within 90 minutes. Nothing of interest happened, nor should it. A couple of years ago, I was photographing this one cover influencer, one of the original icons of the health and wellness space. And her husband, who was, 40 years my senior,
oh boy,
decided he needed to impress me while also subtly threaten me. And I don't know why. I don't know where this came from. I've worked with his wife innumerable times before, have shot dozens of covers with this individual. And he's telling me that he's in some form of mixed martial arts training. I'm like, that is fantastic. I'm very
It wasn't
proud
me.
for you.
I'm very proud. I'm very proud for you.
He says, I got to show you this move I learned. And
oh God,
he then proceeds.
Wait, hold on. When he says that, James, because you
I said it with a
seem
very slow, melodic voice. He didn't say it like that. He was not trying to seduce me.
No, but what's your immediate reaction? Are you like, bro,
you're like, I'm working
here.
Okay, so here's the thing. It's like, sometimes I don't say anything because I'm like in this kind of shock. Like, is this actually happening? And how far is this going to go? And my curiosity will sometimes take the lead on it. I'm like, he's not really going to. Oh, he is. He's going to put his hands on me. Okay. And now what's going to happen? And he proceeded to try to put me in a sleeper hold and cut off my esophagus. And I'm just standing there the whole time. And I'm not saying he was not impacting me at all, but he was not going to hurt me.
He was hurting himself more.
But it was certainly the only reason you are doing this is to try to assert some sort of bullshit dominance in this situation because I'm in your house photographing your wife. And then I was just like, I don't know what to do with this. What do I do with this information? Now that this has happened. So yeah, that one definitely left a memory.
That is weird. Do you get a lot of jealous guys on set?
No.
It's
rare. I mean, here's the thing. It's like you can see the Instagram and you can see the result and it casts a certain perception of what an experience is or what a photo shoot's like. But once you're on set, and maybe Chris can attest this, It's really not that at all. It's often chaotic, and it's lots of moving pieces, and there's always a huge team there, and it's just focus on accomplishing the goal and then moving on. It is amazing that we're able to create the beauty and the glamour that we do with those final images, given what the experience is like on set.
Yeah, the end result is great, but then it's just like, it's not very glamorous or anything to watch. It is like chaotic. The few that I've been to, like with Whitney or whatever, it's just like running back and forth, stressing out, trying to find
That sounds
clothes.
like before you guys go to the grocery store.
It sounds like our house every day. But
I was going to say some may be more chaotic than others.
yeah.
So with the time we have left,
May I ask a question too?
yeah, buddy.
Between like being a photographer and podcasting, and you got to color your photos and do all this stuff, how do you manage your time to also write books? Like,
That's a good question.
When you get like that idea, where do you start structuring like the next steps in your life?
So I'm I live and die by my calendar. So everything goes into my calendar, including tasks for work. I actually am planning to write another book this year, and it's a new idea for a completely new audience. So I'm taking a little bit of a gamble with this. And in fact, when I tried to release a product to this same audience back in 2018, it did not work. It didn't sell to the level I thought it was. So I spent the last 5 years building and nurturing my connection to this target audience. So what's going to happen is I'll start, specifically with writing a book. I'm going to start with the overall theme of what the book is, what I want the outcome or the deliverable to be. By reading this book, you will achieve blank. And then from there, I can then start to fill in all the pieces. The book I'm going to be working at is going to be more of a photo demonstration and guide. So it's not going to take a lot of writing. It's more going to take a lot of planning and design work. But when I did write just a full out book, I would have to just dedicate hours in my calendar every single week, multiple times a week, where my job was to write. Yeah. From 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock, I have to write. And that's it. And until I write enough content that I can fill up something that delivers the outcome that I set with that book.
Like if you sat down to write and you like weren't feeling it in that moment, would you just like block more time out in the future? Like, okay, this is just going to keep going until, or did you have to like something have to spark, or how would you get that going?
No, you just write.
Yeah.
And okay, so
the art of war,
also, yeah, this is a trainable thing. I was a journalist for a long time prior to getting into marketing. So I'm used to just writing. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not writing a finished book when I sit down to write. I'm just writing. And a lot of that content gets thrown out or cut out or edited or changed, or maybe I'm writing something better than what I wrote last week, and I'm rehashing out something just with a clearer focus. But the point is I'm writing. Much like when I show up on set, I don't have the luxury. If someone hires me to do a photo shoot, I don't have the luxury of saying to that client, I'm just not feeling very artistic today. I'm not feeling very creative. I'm going to sit around, go in the green room, get ready. I'm just going to hang out until I have an idea or till I have an inspiration. Then I'll call you and we'll make some photos. I have to treat writing in a very similar vein, which is I'm there to write. This is my time to write. I'm going to write. It might not work. I might throw it all out, but I am going to put words on paper.
And that gives you other ideas. That happens for me when I'm writing plans or pitches or anything like that. As I'm writing, I'll come up with better ideas sometimes. And I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. I change that up, just like you're saying, edit it, and it starts rolling. At least you get your brain going.
James, so this is kind of a success topic that's been floating around, has been kind of popular. I don't know if you've ever read The Power of Full Engagement. It was a book that I loved a while back.
No, let me write that down.
It was about an author who essentially his first book took 3 years and he'd write 8 hours a day, and he felt burned out, etc. His next book, he would focus 2 hours at a time, take 2 hours off, 2 hours back on, wrote another book in half the time. The point of part of that is blocking. Mm-hmm. And I'm circling back because I think in a company, blocking a lot of times gets shattered because there's floaters everywhere. Huh, boys? No, but I think if someone can learn this technique, and I'd love to know how you stay true to it, and it may be a very simple answer, but you're right. I think most people will put stuff in the calendar for themselves. Like I work out at noon every day, and then they make negotiations with themselves. A call happens. You go over the time on the call and you think, well, I can just dismiss my own time block because it's just me. But really you're like letting yourself down. You're not keeping appointments with yourself. Did you always find that easy for yourself? Recently. Say that again, buddy.
That came up on another show I was on recently, which is we'll do so much for others. We'll move our schedule for others, but we'll never prioritize ourselves within our schedules. That definitely hit home a lot.
That's one of the secrets to life. You got to put in your blocks that give you juice and life force and power and productivity.
100%.
That's probably a skill too. You have to learn.
Stick to. No, it is. It's hard for everybody. That's why I wanted to ask you. Did you always have like it was easier for you? Because you seem like a very kind of Tim Ferriss kind of guy. Like you're very structured. You're very. Was it hard for you to block and then stick to those? Was it something you had to train yourself on?
I had to train myself on it because especially right out of college, I went the exact opposite route, which is I prioritized my work over my health. I prioritized my work over relationships. I prioritized my work over a healthy mindset. And the result was I became overweight. I had blood sugar issues. I had blood pressure issues. I was constantly stressed out. I wasn't sleeping, and I had no relationships that I could speak of, friendships or otherwise.
With yourself even too. Yeah.
Yeah. I hated myself. So it was when I flipped that and when I started to, because I realized that what's the outcome here? I build a great business, but I don't live long enough, or I'm happy enough, or I'm alone to ever see it successful.
Or love any of the process. Yeah.
Yeah. Screw that. So prioritizing health is the most important thing. That is the foundation. Everything is built upon our own physical health. From there, mental nourishment. And
James, real quick,
my mindset.
Did you see Stutz with Jonah Hill?
No, that's on Netflix though.
It's amazing, and I want to keep hearing this, but I think anyone who's struggling with mental health issues or motivation or whatever, what James just said, what they say in this movie, and I've believed it for a long time, is the base of your pyramid should be your own health and wellness.
Needs to be
every day. If you only get that one piece in, like, and it doesn't have to be going to CrossFit. It could just be walking in the sunshine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If that gets in every day, things will fall into place. I just wanted to say that because I think people miss that. I think people are looking for all these answers in medicine, pornography, drugs, friendships. When the truth is, a walk every morning is probably going to help you get
for sure
another rung up to be more successful, to be happier, etc.
There was a time, so I competed once upon a time, a fitness competition, another lifetime ago. Shortly after that competition, so I had to drop all this weight, and I'm in, theoretically, quote unquote, the best shape of my life, but I didn't really feel that way. I injured myself. I tore my oblique, and it was a very long and arduous healing process. And during that process, I really slipped into just my own version of a depression because I didn't have a lot of mobility. I couldn't lift. I couldn't, there were so many things I would do that would inflame the scar tissue, which would hamper my breathing because, it's right next to the rib cage. Any swelling would press up on my lung. So I was just feeling like, is this it? Defeated. And it was legitimately a decision of going for a walk that shifted everything. And it was, for 1 week, it was a walk. And then after that, it was a light jog. And then after that, it was a longer jog. And then after that, it was a run. And then after that, and it went on and on and on until I eventually trained to do a marathon. And the point was it all started with a walk. So, for listeners hearing this, you get to determine how you are prioritizing your health. We're not saying you have to, you aforementioned thing, you have to go to CrossFit or you have to run a marathon. It's for you, this could just be a walk around your neighborhood. That can be the thing that changes everything for you. You get to determine the metrics on how you are prioritizing your health or your mindset or relationship, whatever it is. But as long as you're doing something, that's what's going to create that constant feedback loop. And reinforcement of, okay, this is moving in a direction that is bringing me satisfaction, bringing me fulfillment. I'm going to put more energy into this.
And start to produce chemical reactions in the body, or hormone levels are going to get better, on and on and on. So back to blocking, you said you got kind of to the sick and tired part. You start blocking, and then you sort of transition it into the business. And then the question I had was, were you always good at it? And so how did you start training yourself? What was like the positive reward loop for you once you hit blocks in your day?
So you have to actually celebrate your victories, because otherwise you just keep moving the finish line. And I certainly have been guilty of that.
We're having a party Friday.
I think any entrepreneur falls under that. I've had clients who are like that, where it's just like they'll crush a goal and they're like, yeah, but I set a new goal and I haven't hit that new goal yet. Here's the thing, and then I'll circle back to time blocking. Success or fulfillment or satisfaction or happiness, whatever you're calling it, it's a choice. It's not conditional. It doesn't matter if I have days where I am selling, $50,000 in services in a day, or entire weeks where I haven't sold $1. I have to choose to be successful. And we can never lose that choice, or that choice can never be taken from us, but we can give that choice up. And it's when we give that choice up that's when we start to fall into a lot of excuses or a lot of feeling bad about ourselves. But if we always remember that we have that choice and I can choose success every day, that right there is a fantastic way to step in a direction that you feel more positive with. In regards to time blocking, I had to learn how to build a schedule that worked for me, and everyone's a little bit different. There's a really good book called When by Daniel Pink, which is
WHEN, James.
Yep.
When.
It's on the science of timing, and it's basically like knowing yourself and when you are optimal. When it's the right time for you to be creative, when it's the right time for you to do administrative work, when it's the right time for you to work out or be active. And I had to learn, and I'm still learning, because now I just turned 40. How I run my life at 40 is very different than how I ran my life at 35 or 30 or 25. So like, here's a great example. I've noticed in the last few weeks that by the end of the week, I am pretty drained emotionally.
Yep.
Because I've done coaching calls, which, there's a lot of emotional transfers in that. I've put forth a lot of business development and sales. So Thursday, Friday, not great days for me to do sales. Not great days for me to do any meetings with clients. Not great days for me to write either. So what are they good for? Well, I can do photo shoots on those days. Those are great days to do photo shoots, because I'm up, I'm moving.
This is so good.
So I build my schedule based off how I myself operate. I know early in the week, administrative. Mondays are all admin work for me. Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I then kind of blend together sales with client work. And Thursdays, Fridays, I do less sales and client work, and I do more creative work or stuff that lights me up again before I go into the weekend.
This is so good, because coming from an old sales background, James, it was so hard knocks, right? Like, we used to be on the phone and there'd be a guy in the cube next to us, and we'd be covering the receiver and be like, shut the fuck up, like kicking his desk, stealing his leads off his desk. Like, it was a boiler room. I think that taught us back then that every day is a good sales day.
Just go.
And I think as you get older, your ego comes down a bit, because I'm going through the same thing where I've started structuring my days. Even where I know now by 4:00 in the afternoon, I probably can't have a deep conversation about something in the business that requires a lot of analytical thinking, because I'll just be in the meeting and be worthless. It took a while though for me to get to the point where I could admit that. I always felt like as the CEO, I had to be like, I can crush 12-hour days constantly, and I didn't even understand this principle till not too long ago, and it happened because I started feeling burned out and like I wanted to quit. Because I was trying to force too many things into too many windows, instead of recognizing that, in the mornings I'm better. Meetings should happen in the mornings. In fact, I sent you guys an email last week, like, I'm no longer taking meetings or doing anything before 11 a.m.
Yeah.
Because I need 6 to 11 to get actual work done. Then I can fill with meetings. But it's a skill that if people focus on and can think about, I think it can change your life.
Yeah, this is amazing. That kind of hit home for me, actually, because also what you're saying is by knowing yourself and structuring your day that way, you're more likely to get that stuff done, because you know that at this time, like for me, like working out, a lot of times I'll tell myself I didn't get to work out in the morning. I'll do it tonight. And then by the end of the day, I'm like, I'm tired and I'm like, I don't want to work out now. Whereas knowing yourself and just making sure you do it and understanding your mind, how you're going to feel everything, and you structure your day that way, you're more likely to complete it. I mean, that just hit. I'm thinking about my whole schedule now for my week. And
it's so true though. I mean, like from sales calls to, we've talked about this, James, as we've grown this company where we try to do shows on Fridays and we just finally canceled it. Cause I'm like, I don't have the emotions to do a whole nother podcast at Friday afternoon at 3:00. I just can't do it. I'm not giving the guest anything. I'm not giving the audience anything.
So does this lead into your legacy planner? Because I know you wanted to talk about this. It's available online. Whitney had it, so I was able to bring it in, and I just got to look through it this morning, and I want to order one too, because this is basically what you're talking about, right? Blocking out your day through this.
The problem a lot will run into, specifically my clients, is let's say they set a goal for themselves. I want to launch a podcast. We'll just use that. But the closer they get to when they said they were going to launch this podcast, the bigger this concept seems and the harder it seems and the more impossible it seems to do. Well, I don't know how to launch a podcast. I've never done it before. I don't have the gear. I don't have do I need hosting? What's the artwork? How do I make those cool little audiogram file? I don't know any of this. And it just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. The process of the legacy planner is starting with visioning out your year and all the end results you want within that year. Then it requires that you break these annual goals into quarterly sprints. This is what I'm going to work on for the next 12 weeks. From there, you take those quarterly sprints and you turn them into monthly actions. Well, I know what I need to get done in the next 3 months, but what work needs to happen this month to make sure that I'm on track for the next month and then the next month? Then you take it down even further. What do I do in the next week? And then you take it down even further. Every single day, what do I need to get done today? So we're taking big things, your big goals, and I'm forcing you to break it into the most granular pieces. Because then, like today, I don't have to worry about this conference I'm hosting in 4 months. You know what I have to do today? I have to work on the web frames. That's it. That's my job today. And next week, I'm going to work on some copy. I don't need to worry about copy this week. I don't even need to worry about it tomorrow.
Well, wait, are you saying that, James? Because a lot of people, if they're not putting it down somewhere,
structured,
that open loop keeps hitting your brain.
Bingo.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it seem insurmountable or seem unattainable. This is how we make things attainable. This is how we make things achievable, and this is how we get shit done.
I love this. So obviously I get to hold a copy. We'll put a link in the description. The Legacy Planner. I just thumbed through this, and I even love the weekly breakdowns because you have things in here like checking in on my mental health. Was it 10 out of 10? Relationships, 10 out of 10. It gives you priority action items, which, if you're a to-do list person, you should be prioritizing certain tasks over others.
Yes.
I like the weekly wrap up.
I like it. I like how visual it is too, James, a lot. I'm a very visual person. Sometimes digital things throw me off because, sometimes people have notepads and stuff in a computer and then you have 4 different programs running.
So this started as an Excel spreadsheet I had for myself for a decade. I did this in an Excel spreadsheet for 10 years before I ever considered releasing it. It was never meant for anyone else. I just did this for myself. And then at some point, clients started asking how I was as efficient as I was with the different companies I'm overseeing. And well, here's my process. So we just turned it into a PDF just for my clients at first and had them do it for an entire year before we ever turned it into the book it is now.
Yeah, this is great.
And for people just listening, where can they get this legacy planner?
So if you go to jamespatrick.com/legacy, it has the link to Amazon. It's in paperback, it's in hardcover. Or if you just want to test it out and you go to jamespatrick.com/legacy, you can download the free PDF. You can just print out what you want of it and test it out for yourself.
It's great. I'm going to order one today.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
I'm going to steal this one.
Whitney will fight you for it.
I'll win.
She was like, bring it back.
Well, James, this has been awesome. I know we got to run. anything else you want to tell anybody or in closing?
No, I just appreciate the time to chat with you guys. This was awesome.
Yeah, bro. Really appreciate it. I hope we get to do this again.
Yeah.
I'd love to chat with you offline too. We seem like we have some similar interests. So,
you want to plug your Instagram and stuff real quick where people can find you?
Yeah, sure. J. Patrick Photo.
J. Patrick Photo.
And what's your podcast?
The Beyond the Image podcast.
Beyond the Image. We'll
Yeah,
put
listen
links
to
in
it.
all the descriptions.
Awesome.
Yeah, there'll be links and everything. James, we appreciate you. Thanks again for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you, James.
Guys,
This was
thank
great.
you so much.